Hello everyone. We're going to start, but I want to ask everyone that's sitting in the last three rows to come a bit more to the front because it's way more fun for the one who's giving the lecture if they see a full trappenzaal. So please come to the front. So yeah. Yes, thank you very much. First, Elke is going to give a small presentation about my future, and afterwards the lecture is going to start. So I would like to give the word to Elke.
Well, hello everyone. My name is Elke. I'm from the My Future team, and I will give a very short presentation about what my future is. I will start with a video that explains the importance of career orientation, but you're already here, so I think you know it. Unfortunately, there's no sound, but there are subtitles, and it will explain itself. As you noticed, this is where the video also was shot, so you are sitting in the same place. I'm also curious, who of you already visited My Future website? Okay, I see quite some hands, then don't have to go too in depth. But an explanation about My Future activities, because it is important to know that when you want your bachelor's degree, you have to obtain at least 7 My Future activities obtained. So you can get these by going to events like these that are career related, and you can find them all on My Future website. For some events, you might get 2 My Future activities when they are, for example, more in depth, like a networking event or a company visit. And for lunch lectures, you, for example, get 1 My Future activity. If you want to check your progress, you can go to Academy Attendance. That is the screenshot on the slide. You can go there by visiting the My Future website, and then there is a link. And when you log in with your TUE credentials, you can see how many My Future activities you still have to obtain to get your bachelor's degree. Then on the website, you can find, as I said, all career-related events that are happening on and around the campus. And they are organized by a lot of organizations. So, for example, study associations like CHEOPS, but also other TUE-affiliated parties like Innovation Space. And you are welcome to visit all activities. So you don't necessarily have to go only to your own study association, but you can see what fits your interest or what you would like to explore more. Also, there is a progress page where you can select skills, like said in the video, so you can really tailor your overview to what you would like to develop and want to explore more. Then lastly, if you follow My Future on the Instagram or LinkedIn, you can stay up to date and get reminders about which activities are coming up and where and when. So if you the QR code that goes towards the Instagram. And if you have any questions, you can always look at My Future website, frequently ask questions, or send an email, or contact, for example, Geops, who's hosting the activity. If there are no urgent questions, then I would like to thank you very much for your attention and have fun with this lunch lecture. It's coming up.
Okay. Good day, everybody. I hope everybody can hear me if I talk like this. Okay, perfect. So today I was asked by Building Heroes, an organization that helps you with your career, to give you a presentation about my work. I'm an architect. I'm going to tell you something about my work and about what we do, and also a little bit of an introduction of projects. So I will dive deep into two projects. Presentation will take around 3 hours, so get ready. A little bit of a joke, sorry. I think I've got 40 minutes, so I have a big presentation, so we have to speed up a little bit. So the name of my studio is Atelier Boetzkes. It's a pretty small studio here in Eindhoven. And we're going to introduce you a little bit. So this is who I am. I did my bachelor in 's-Hertogenbosch and my master studies here at the Technical University in Eindhoven. I was one of the Occupy winners in 2009, and then worked under two professors who were also teaching here in at the TUE in Eindhoven. One was QBBF, that was under Gerard van Zijl. He passed away already a couple of years ago. And Diederik Dirks under Bert Dirks, who was the architect also of this building where we're sitting right there. After that, I had a team up with a guy who was on the same school with here at TU. We had a firm for a couple of years, and then we split up in 2009. And since then, we have been working as Atelier Boetzkes. And what we also do is we do a lot of co-ops with other architects. One of these cooperations is Space Translators. I'm going to show you a project of that today. Besides that, I also teach. We do that in Tilburg, Arnhem, Rotterdam, but also in the Technical University of Brno. That's where I'm now teaching there. And besides that, I'm also a member of the Quality Board in Eindhoven. So first of all, to show you a little bit of students. Probably some of you have the ambition to get into the Archipre. So I'll show you a little bit of the work that I did. We made a Cartesian monastery. Was more of a theoretical project. Yeah, you can dive into the website of Archipre and you can read about it. But it's always nice to show that. I think the teachers, Jacob Voorthuis and Ralf Broderick, are still teaching here. So you can also talk with them about it. I think they still know it. This was this monastery that was like this piece of silence within the big city. Well, nice to show that. Then again, what about the studio? Our studio is here situated in the center of Eindhoven. Here's the studio, nice. And teaching, to do that, you see that here a little bit. This is in Brno. We also do a lot of activities outside. And also we get students from abroad into the Netherlands so that we can show them around, show them through Eindhoven, Rotterdam, Amsterdam. Yeah, everybody likes that. Then what we call Commissie Ruimtelijke Kwaliteit, or Commission Spatial Quality. That's what's the beauty committee. We also do that here in Eindhoven, which means that we are advising on all the bigger projects that are built here in Eindhoven, which means that we can advise on that. So we help the architects and the builders and the investors to make the projects better. Not only aesthetically, but sometimes also on the social level or on sustainable level. Okay, so what type of work do we do? to show you a little bit around from the website. So we build houses and we do that modern. Everything is a little bit on the modern approach. Sometimes it's set in these rural areas, sometimes in urban areas. This is a densification project that we're working on right now in Eindhoven. But we also work for bigger companies or for bigger state clients as the Ministry of Defense, where we do interior projects. This case also like transformational projects, so an old chapel that is remodeled into a medical center. And indeed, we also do then, we work on these interiors. Besides that, something I really like is eating out and drinking. Therefore, somehow we are also dove into making restaurants, and therefore now we also do that. And some of these are Michelin star restaurants, like this one. It's in Heeze. The guy was announced Chef of the Year 2023 this year. But also this one, a small restaurant in Utrecht that we just delivered in October last year, and also got a big prize, which is super interesting to do, because today I'm going to show you two projects that take a lot of time. And the interesting thing about doing a restaurant or an interior is that you get a question, and within 6 months you have to deliver it. So the rotation of these projects is way different than what I'm going to show you today. So what I'm going to talk about today is two projects. And this first project is an exemplary project, I think, about bio-based building. And we did that together with me, Bas, and Loes, the three architects. And the story goes like this. So this is a part of a presentation that I did in England a couple of years ago, and I added a little bit. So it's about in September 2016, we got an invitation for a possible project. Somebody calls you, say, hey, can you make some technical details for an existing sports hall to make that building energy positive? So that's super nice. You think like, okay, let's have a look. And then the second question is, oh yeah, you're gonna use straw bales to insulate this building. So that will be the material you have to work with. We said like, okay, wrap it up. But then you go look at this building, and you see this is a building from 1977. It's an old sports hall. And if you already see the shape of this building, it's a bit complicated. Everybody knows sports halls, and a lot of them are pretty introvert. They're like fortifications. There's not a lot of daylight there. We also see that, can use the mouse, we see also here that there is this cafe that has this old atmosphere that maybe is not something that we would like now. So what if you would wrap this up with straw bales? What's going to happen then? And look at the roof line, how to work with that. So looking at the interior, think like, okay, now what if this up with straw bales? What are we left with? You see the old dressing rooms, the old hall, the brown color. You think, you can even smell it. You know, you can smell the 70s right back. You see these old people there, the seniors doing in the morning program with badminton or volleyball. This is the cafe. This is not pretty inviting. So diving into this project, we see that the existing drawings, that there is not a lot of daylight. So what if you're going to wrap this up with straw bales? We're going to offset the building with 40 to 50 centimeters, which means we're going to attack the shape of the building, but also we're going to narrow down the position of the daylight. So what is this? Then again, we have a lower part and we have a higher part. Somebody has already dove into building with straw bales. These are the most difficult details, these details there, to work with that. So moist gives a problem there. So now, another shot of that. So while we were there, we looked around at the building. We were driving home in the car, back to Eindhoven. And then we thought, what are we going to do with this? What? Actually, we weren't really happy about it. So we said, like, okay, quick analysis. Let's think about it through all the weekend. And if we don't come up with a plan on next week, we're gonna give we're gonna give it back. We're gonna say, maybe you shouldn't take this building as as an exemplary to insulate it with straw bales. So is the technique fit for this specific building? It's a complex existing detail. We have the roof, we have the alternating facades. We are blocking and minimizing the windows and the doors. And then the question is, what do they get after this investment? We're investing just in a new facade. You will have a better internal climate. Perfect. It will be energy neutral and positive. But the whole interior will still breathe the 70s. There's no budget for it. The floor plan still is not updated to this age, so we're still left with that 70s vibe. The building still will stay introvert, so what about that? And then the question is, how will the residents and supporters react to this? Because the only thing that they want is they want a nice hall where they can have sports. They don't care about this straw bale insulation. It will cost like a couple of million euro, and then they don't have an upgraded sports floor or better facilities. So we said, okay, we need a more inclusive concept to make this work. So we said, okay, we have to think inside the box of straw. So what did we do? We said, okay, look, number one is that's the existing shape of the floor plan. Was the existing shape of the floor plan. We said, what if we would demolish all the lower parts? Actually, this is the program where all the facilities are. The locker rooms, the changing rooms, storage space, the cafe. We maintain the sports hall, which also gives us the possibility to keep the complete sports hall working throughout the whole renovation or renewal. And then we wrap it around and we make a simple box out of it. That gives us a lot of positive things, because if we make a simple shape, we can make it feasible. Because in the end, if you work with a product like straw, now how to make something like this feasible, and how do you get like a contractor with you on the same path? Things like, okay, I'm willing to take the risk to make straw bales around a building that's already existing. How do you do this? How do you convince somebody like that? So, I'm not sure. So we made a design, and this is the design. We just make some nice sketches and try to sell that to the municipality. And here we see a floor plan. The floor plan is more open, especially in the front. There is this opening. You can look through the building. And we said, okay, what if the changing rooms that were now positioned on the ground floor would go up to the first floors, which means we're stacking up. We can make this box work. So the municipality, we showed it to them, and they say, let's go. We believe in this. This is the answer. This is the only way that how we can make this feasible. And from there on, you have the team. So there is the municipality, we have the architects, there we have the Strobouw Nederland, that's the Straw Bale Society of the Netherlands. They are helping us. We have some technical advisors, and we have some building cost advisor, because they will make it. They can make it happen, because we need to calculate. And then the problem starts. What about the funding from Europe? We have the aesthetics committee. Everybody thinks something about it. It needs to be energy positive. How can you make this happen? We have problems with urban planning, because the existing height was not completely as it should be. We have the building costs that go way out of control. There's a time frame, because the municipality says, yeah, you can do it, but we want to apply for this European funding, which means you have to team up with that. And if you don't comply with that, then money disappears. Then you need a building permit that also has a time frame. This is, okay, what about that? So in the end, to go really quickly, the result was that we had to make in a very short time 3 different facade designs. We had to approach the market for 3 times because the market came up with too high prices. It was like we went over budget every time because nobody wanted to take the risk to build with straw. And that, when we're talking about 2018, then for the first time we tried it to the market here. Now the market is way more accepting building with bio-based materials. That time nobody wanted to do that. So we had to make several budget cuts. We had to get some extra funding, not that much, but we had to do it. And we had to work in a construction team, which means we didn't do a market approach. And for a municipality, this is pretty extraordinary because municipalities or state-owned companies, they have to do that. They have to approach the market, ask 5 people or 5 companies, and then they come with the best price. And in this case, we were just working with one company, the only company that actually gave us a price that was really, really willing to work with us. So then we ended up with this. And we see here the existing hall, the isometric of it, with the facade around it. A little bit of the model. And then they said, like, yeah, we need some pictures. Like, can you make a render? And on a Thursday, yeah, we need it on Monday because it needs to go on the poster. I said, yeah, I don't have time for how do you do that? So we made up some simple renders. So they're not that super nice, but we had to do something. You know, it's just like, okay, now everything goes in this how you call this? Some sort of incubator, and there's pressure there. So we had to do that. Then some little bit data about it. So also technical elements. So in the end, we were calculating that we needed like around about 1,700 square meters of facade, 1,400 square meters of wood. All this could be bio-based then. A little bit of glass. Well, that's not bio-based. And then 236 square meters of straw panels, which is a lot. Because when we look into straw bale, we see a lot of these straw bale houses and some certain type of technique. The thickness is 36 centimeters of the straw, which leaves us up with around 370 cubic meters of straw. That's round about one normal house, and that's a lot. So finally, in the end, we ended up with this floor plan. It changed a little bit. What we needed to do in the end, we still kept this open plan area. What we had to do is we had to lower down 2 of the dressing rooms so that they were able for people who have a handicap, so they will be able to use the wheelchair, because we also the sports hall is also facilitated for handicapped sports, which means wheelchair basketball and volleyball, I think. Yeah. And then some more data about it. So here we see actually in gray, this is the existing structure. And then this is what we had to add. So we have the existing brickwork. And then we had to add these straw bale panels. These are, these have a thickness of around 42 centimeters in the end. And within that, there is this 36 centimeters of straw. RC is, or actually then we have to talk about RD, because only the yellow part, RD is 7, has a RD of 7. What we see is what we used is the inside panel is an OSB sheet. Then we have some sort of fin joist beams, and then we have a straw filling. And on the outside we have a Gutex Pyroresist, which is a wood fiber panel that has a higher grade of fire resistance because we're building with straw. Now if you go out into the public and you tell the neighborhood, we're going to build a house, we're going to build this sports hall with straw, everybody is the first thing they'd say, okay, thing is going to burn down. So what we did is we built in this extra facility to give people, it's more like to give public rest, because in the end, if you compress straw and there's the value that you calculate is not that high, but in the end, if straw is really high compressed, then it just smothers, so it's not burning. That is very important with straw build. But then you think, okay, how are we going to do this? This is what we think about straw bale building. Like we build up the straw bales and then that's it. But that's not what we wanted. So we were thinking about, okay, how can we use a technique so that we have big prefab elements and we fill that in with the straw bale blocks. So which means the straw bale block is the guiding element, but there's one thing with that. This is the way how you do it. So now if you want to make 1,200 or 1,300 square meters of straw bale prefab panels and people are pushing that in with by hand, what are we making? This is not how you want to build a building. I mean, it's lovely to see this and it gives this arts and crafts feeling, but in the end we need a technique that is more industrialized to make bio-based building worthwhile also for contractors to take the risk. So round about that time in Austria, there was a company who said, yeah, what if we just cut the straw up, small parts, small fibers, and we take the same machine as we used for re-insulating brick walls or to fill in wooden buildings with cellulose. This is this machine, simple machine. This is in the market. And we will use straw to fill that in. So we said, let's go. Let's try to, we made 3 mock-ups with several sheets on the front. We said these are all bio-based sheets, so it was about how they behave themselves regarding to moist and temperature and damp openness. What you see here, this guy is Wouter. Wouter he is the specialist in the Netherlands now with straw fill-in technique. I think he did like a lot of buildings right now. This is the guy you need if you want to talk about straw fill-in. And what we see here is this is like this plexiglass panel, but you see that if you blow in straw, it compresses it by itself. And then you get the same RD value, even a little bit better than with straw bales. Why is it better? Because if you use straw bales, all the connections of the straw bales, they are still open. You have to do that by hand, you have to fill that in, you have to put the straw in. That's what are we doing? If we just blow this in, we just fill it up and we're good to go. Okay, so what Wouter also did is he built these panels, he put them on the truck, and he started traveling through the Netherlands. So what he wanted to test is, if we are traveling with these panels, prefab panels, is the straw going to compress more, and are we getting air gaps there? Because you also have to calculate that. If it's compressing further when you drive, then we have a problem, because then you have all these air gaps, and then there still is a problem. But in the end, it compresses for 0.5%. So it was so minimum that we said, this is working, this is perfect. So here we see the start of the project, and one of the main things that the municipality asked us, and this was actually the most difficult thing, they said, we believe in the project, let's go, you can do it. But there's only one thing, during the whole construction, everybody needs to be able to keep the sports hall for sporting. And then we said like, yeah, but how are we going to do that? Said, yeah, that is your problem. You're an architect, you're the contractor, make it happen. So we build these temporary things, and then we had to make a complete schedule with primary schools, with sports organizations. When are people sporting, and when we were able to work there with a crane or with whatever, because when little kids are there, you cannot come there with a truck or with a crane or with big paneling. So that was difficult. So here you see a little bit of how that works. You have to demolish a little bit, you have to adjust a little bit. And then here we see the straw bale, the prefab panels that are going to be filled up with straw. And here we also see that how the compressing of the straw is. So we also had peer groups, because this was connected to a European subsidy, which means that there is a peer group traveling through all of Europe with all these straw bale exemplary projects. So then they came to see all the types of mock-ups that we made, and this is how we build it. In the inside, the OSB panels are all there's also bio-based. And then, results, because in the end, results count. So this is the front facade. We see also that because we were working on it and we thought okay, now we're making a pretty strict box. Can we make it a bit more soft for these for the youth? So a artist here from Eindhoven to make all these paintings throughout the building that guide them through the public areas, and to make it a little bit more softer, a little bit more accessible for everybody. Yes. So the wood that we used is Douglas wood, and that is I think it came from the north of France. Talking about bio-based and about distances, so we can say, okay, bio-based, if it comes from Friesland, then it's still okay. But if it comes from north of France, is it then also okay? So what is the radius? These are the things that we have to talk about. There are also companies who do straw bale prefab, but then it's produced in Latvia. Now, if it's produced in Latvia and you take big lorries to take it to the Netherlands, what are we doing then? Is this still right or wrong? I'm not sure. I think these are the questions that we have to think about while thinking about bio-based building. Then again, the straw that we used came from Austria. That's also a thing. But Austria was the only land at that time. There were two companies, both from Austria, that delivered this. Then you can say, okay, make straw and then chop it up and put it in there, but it also needs to be certified. So how to work with that? Now slowly, also Belgium and Germany also have this type of product, which means that it's getting closer by, which is a good thing. Now some interior, go quickly through it. You can see how it works. Talking about interior, I just want to say this, that we also used, it's like circular materials that we used. The wood and everything that we used for the tables is from old gymnastic elements that were formerly used by these gym hall. Nice story for that. Yeah. Okay. Then a little bit about what about water? So we have the whole roof collects all the water, and then we flush that water into these outward bassins, which means that we can give the water back to its location, which is also a thing. We don't give it immediately back to the sewage system, but we let it sink into the park. Then we got an innovation prize 2021, sorry, by NOC NSF, which means that now we are presenting this building and technique. How can you work with an existing building, keep your existing building, and then alter it into 2023 or 2030, whatever you want, and work with that. So sometimes a sports hall is not completely fit for the best or the newest rules that we have, but then again, sometimes you have to also accept that it's not completely complying with, but you're working with the same building, which is always, I think, better than completely demolishing it and to build a new building that's completely bio-based. Because what are we doing then? We're throwing something away and then we build a complete bio-based building, and then what do we have? I don't believe in that. So for me and for us, working on this project, it is more about hybrid. If you have an existing building, think about hybrid. So what can you add? How can you work with that? And how can you make these details work? Because that's the most important thing. Not make a damp open building if the half of the building is already damp closed. So then another project. So this is a completely different project, but this is in Eindhoven. And I'm going to tell you something about it. This takes, the former project took around 4 years, 5 years to evaluate it and to make it into success. This is another project that is talking about TAC, Temporary Art Center here in Eindhoven. And this is right across PSV Stadium. And here we see some old images about it. Really nice, really lovely. And this building is this is the only building that Philips built with, where this part, we can see here, that part is built in with in a wood frame building. It was something that was that flew over from America, because this was an administrative building, which means the question was to make an open area where they could have all these big calculators, so Philips could calculate, I don't know what, but something like that. In the end, it existed not for long. It became the office for the houses for Philips, and also the Philips shop has been there. So a lot of people from Eindhoven who know this building, the affiliation building as an old Philips shop. You would work at Philips, you have the special discount card, you go to Philips, you buy your first CD player there. You didn't pay 1,000 guilders, but you paid 750 guilders. Yay. Then after a certain while, Philips starts leaving Eindhoven, and then the Van Abbe Museum wanted to extend and renovate. But they were situated here for temporary there. And when that was done, I think it was around 2004, then there was an empty building. So there was an organization thought like, hey, what if we would make a arts and culture center there with studios and atelier spaces? Yeah, nice. So this is a little bit about the feeling that we had there for the last 17 years. Expositions, beautiful. You see the wood frame. The building is from 1929, so you can imagine this is already pretty old. You see here, we see like a floor plan. And this is how it is roundabout now. The building is a little bit vacant. I'm going to tell you a little bit about it. These were roundabout the studios that you could rent there. You could rent there for cheap. So if you were studying at the design academy or were just finished here from school, as I did, then you could rent there for cheap and start your own company. Hey. So in 2017, I got a question. So they said, hey, there is a new urban plan. Where is TAC? It's gone. You see the dotted line here? This is where TAC is. And this is the plan for the Emma single quadrant. People who know a little bit about Eindhoven, they probably know this location. It's about Victoria Park. And so the board came and said, like, what's happening here? Can we do something about it? So I was diving into the plans of the supervisor, of the urbanist. And it said, like, okay, in this zone we can go 7 to 9 layers. We have these accents, these stars, and this part needs to be 4 layers. And there was one small image in this whole study, this whole urban plan, and said, like, yeah, maybe we can keep the building, but that was like hidden in a sub thing. So it was like, okay. So we dove into that. We said, what if we could keep the building? Because an art and culture center, they're not rich. They are dependent on fundings from the municipality. So they cannot say, hey, here we have 5 million euro. Let's remodel the whole thing and make something happen. So we need a plan. And we had to find the loophole. So what did we do? We said, like, what if we would sell the air above the building? What about that? So we made a plan and said, like, yeah, we had to cut the building off. You saw that in the urban plan. So what if we just make a simple incision and then sprawl some high-rise on top of that? This could be something. It's just an idea. And here we see that in a plan. So lively. We have ateliers, space for expo, music, whatever. Here we see a model. We also calculated it because you have to make this calculation to see if it works. You know, what is it going to cost? And then the municipality said, we have to talk with each other. We think this is a super good plan. This is like, you found the loophole. Sell the area of the building. We thought, like, yay, it's going to happen. So we got a green, we got check. okay, clear. And then that was the supervisor, Adriaan Geuze. He said like, yeah, okay, maybe we can work a little bit with it. So he altered the plan. He said, yeah, we're going to do it a little bit differently, but you can build 4 layers there. You can do it. So we made another plan. So like, yeah, let's go. Let's sell these square meters. To be rich. We're gonna be able to make this plan happen. So we said this is simple model just to sell it to investors. So now the investors enter the game, the money, and say like, yeah, whatever, building on top of the existing building. You know what it's gonna cost? Never gonna happen. So the decks is reshuffled now. So I think like, okay. So there is this selection of investors. We are altering the rules, the agreements with the municipality. And these changing agreements with the municipality, TAC, the building, needs to connect with a block of apartments. We're going to show you later. And then there is a cooperation with an appointed architect for the apartments. So, which means the investor said, yeah, very nice, Servi, but you're a small guy. You cannot build 200, 250 apartments on your own. We're going to enter a bigger company. So KCAP enters in this case, well, we have seen more architects, but KCAP was announced, and I am working on the Art and Culture Center, and they are working on a tower. So many designs follow then. I'm not going to show you them, but also about description, but we fast forward to 2022. So this is what we end up with. We started in 2017. Now it's 2022, a couple of years later. This is the result that we're now talking about. You see, this is the existing building. It still exists because regarding to bats, we were not able to demolish part of the building, which means we have like 1.5 years of delay because they found two bats. We had to shut down the whole building with everything to get the bat. First we had to lure the bats out, then we had to shut the building down, and now we have to wait until this season to get the approval to demolish. So this is how it works, people. This is real. But we see here, this is the building block. This is the first building block of the Emma single quadrant that will be built, probably. And we see here Tower 1 and this orange part, and this is the part where KCAP is working on, and this is the part where we are working on. We're getting back from 7,000 square meters to 4,000 square meters, roundabout, which means that we have to compress the whole program. But that's not bad, because we had a very luxurious building. And then here you see a little bit about how that works, how the stacking, isometric, how the stacking of the program works, and how the supervisor wants to weave the program of TAC into this tower, which means things don't appear next to each other, but things are woven into each other, which will give you a more lively block. So we're helping each other. Now, what is the trick that we do? Instead of selling the air above TAC, TAC is also a partner in this tower, which means that a part of the profit that's going to be made is going to be flown into this part, which makes it possible to keep this organization in the city center, because probably you also have heard about it. Studio spaces, atelier spaces are all pushed out of the city, which means that students or artists are not able to work in the city center anymore. Therefore, it's really good that if we start with a project, that we can keep that in the city center. I think it's very valuable. And now here we see some images around it, how that could work. In front here we see the Ventosa flat. Probably you've seen that with the beautiful window frames, the purple ones, the lila ones, sorry. And here's some view. Probably you've seen this view before. This is the Gagelstraat. This is the Ventoselaan. And this is how this building is going to collide. I'm not sure if this, if it's about beauty or about this is a result of working together, but this is a very big block, and it's colliding with this lower part. Entrance, new entrance, a view. And what we're also going to do is we're going to extend a little bit, we're going to demolish, and then we're going to build a new part. It's going to be studios or whatever. We're going to ask, this is not the mural that's going to be painted, but we're going to ask artists to redo every 2 years the wall, so which means it's going to be a dynamic more thing. That's, like that. Also, these what we see here, these are the old garage doors that we have in the building. They're going to be reused again. So there's a lot about circular building here. We're going to reuse a lot of the existing parts that we have. Here we see a floor plan, not that interesting. Some isometrics on how that could work. You see the structure, the division, how that could work on a detail level. How we're going to use old spaces that are hidden into the building. There's an old vault that we're going to use as a new expo space. And then there is a deal, which means that we're also getting money from national level, which is really nice, which means that we're going to get a lot of money to make it happen. So it's still a work in progress, but hey, for those who can read Dutch, we are now facing maybe a new crisis, which means everything is under pressure there. Also this part, which means 2023, will we start with the construction, or will it be 2025 or 2027? We don't know. That's like the... So this guy, he has to come up with some solutions. But now they say the new law will be installed in the 1st of January 2024. We have to see if this is going to happen. We're not sure. But this is putting a lot of pressure on a lot of projects in the Netherlands throughout all of the cities. And also we are part of that. So which means that it's still on risk. To be continued, what I say. So if there is any questions, I would want to end it with this one.
Well, thank you very much for the lecture. As a small present of Geos, we got you a bottle of Geos wine and the new Gepels. Thank you everyone for coming. If you need your My Future points, at the back there is someone standing with the scanner. You just scan your card and you get the My Future points. And also don't forget to subscribe to win lunch at the Building Hero list. And I hope to see you at the next lunch lecture.